Russians love to boast about their weaponry, propagandists sing their praises, and the authorities walk with their heads held high, convincing their people that they have long outplayed the West. However, where the West truly lags behind Russia is in lying. It might seem like just a handle fell off, but on the front, it plays Russian roulette. And so it is with everything for the occupiers. It doesn't matter how, the main thing is to report to the Tsar about the work done.
Whose mare would moo, yours should stay still. Cow. Cow, mare, it doesn't matter. An animal, whatever.
This is probably how another unparalleled armored vehicle, the Tiger, was created. The Russians call it the main predator of the Russian Federation. However, the military themselves are not so cheerful for some reason. The occupiers on Tigers in particular came to capture Ukraine and predictably left dozens of their damaged beasts here. Because they forgot one simple truth: you don't boast about weapons. With words, you demonstrate their effectiveness on the battlefield.
He didn't limit himself much with the wig.
Ukrainian developers have demonstrated in practice how this truth works. Domestic weapons are not shouted about from every rooftop, yet their performance is praised by global experts. Among such developments is the Ukrainian armored vehicle Kozak. What kind of vehicle is this that even the occupiers are drooling over? More on this in just a moment. The first Kozak armored vehicle was manufactured in 2009. It was a prototype showcased at exhibitions and attracted interest from foreigners. However, the Ukrainian security forces were not interested in it. Everything changed in 2014.
The year 2014. The question of how this came about is clear, or rather what the answer is. There was indeed a need for the rearmament of the Ukrainian army. Moreover, the conflict in the East is a type of conflict that clearly demonstrates why such vehicles are needed. This is a very classic example of a vehicle known worldwide as an MRAP, which stands for Mine Resistant and Ambush Protected.
In 2014, the Research and Development Association Praktika presented a pre-production prototype of the BBM Kozak 2014. And although it was a breath of fresh air compared to Soviet armored vehicles, the Kozak still had its flaws.
There's no need for such a large number of windows. The thing is one bullet hits a few more bullets, and that's it. The observation mission will not be carried out.
The developers quickly heard the feedback and within a year introduced a new modification, the Kozak 2. And it was very well received by the National Guard and the State Border Service. They were the first to acquire the Ukrainian novelty.
It is equipped for a landing party of 8 passengers and 3 vehicle crew members, the commander, driver, and gunner. The weapon is mounted with a 12-8 machine gun.
At the beginning of 2016, the armored vehicle underwent mine resistance testing, and these were the first such tests in Ukraine, comparable to NATO countries.
The explosion will be under chassis, under front wheel. 2 explosions of 6 kilograms each.
The vehicle's task is indeed to protect people, and it succeeded in doing so.
This is the filtration and ventilation system, and a spare wheel with a winch to facilitate its installation. This is a rigid tow bar for towing. Here are the firing ports with viewing windows or made directly in the window. This is a mirror that does not shatter when hit by a bullet. It does not break apart. These are cables for driving through wooded areas to deflect branches like this while driving. The headlights are protected from branches by these grills. Here you can also see the winch for pulling the vehicle out, and the night camouflage lights. They provide good illumination for the driver but are almost invisible to an outside observer.
And although the vehicle was of high quality, it was not enough for the armed forces of Ukraine. Therefore, the development of a new version began, this time together with the military, particularly those who had direct combat experience in the Russian-Ukrainian war. The new modification was named Kozak 2M1 and had a completely different design. We will focus on it in detail. The changes allowed the vehicle to become lower and more maneuverable. Moreover, the Kozak 2M1 has much better ride smoothness over rough terrain at high speeds, which is undoubtedly an advantage for a vehicle in combat operations. From October 2018 to December 2019, the Kozak 2M1 underwent highly successful state trials. They really put it through the ringer. Now the vehicle was extensively shot at and blown up. During this time, it covered 15,000 kilometers in various conditions, including terrain intended for tracked vehicles. But it bore fruit. In the spring of 2020, the armored vehicle was finally adopted by the armed forces of Ukraine. What exactly is the Kozak 2M1? The Kozak 2M1 armored vehicle weighs about 15 tons. It has a diesel engine with 280 horsepower and is built on an Iveco chassis. It has high off-road capability and mobility. Moreover, it can reach speeds of up to 110 kilometers per hour. An armored vehicle implies that it should have high protection, and the Kozak indeed has powerful protection. The vehicle can withstand fire from armor-piercing incendiary bullets of 7.62 caliber and the detonation of an 8-kilogram mine or explosive under the wheel. And for greater protection of the passengers, the Kozak is equipped with anti-mine seats and a multi-layered floor. The Kozak is equipped with a 12.7mm heavy machine gun. The weapon is capable of accurate firing at a distance of up to 2 kilometers. But as we mentioned earlier, what matters is not words but effectiveness. And who better than the Ukrainian defenders to truly appreciate it?
You can fire 3 to 4 boxes and it won't jam even once. 4 boxes, it cleanly fires 250, 200 rounds and won't jam even once. We worked on buildings, dismantling them when a sniper was targeting us, causing havoc. We engaged enemy BMPs when they simply drove out, and we targeted them. It just dismantled them, plain and simple. There's no escaping this machine gun.
The Kozak armored vehicle has something in common with Ukrainian Cossacks. It also doesn't like Russians and has been systematically destroying them on the front for several months. It is a thorn in the occupiers' side. Almost every day the Russian Ministry of Defense reports on the destruction of a Ukrainian armored vehicle. But as is often the case, the invaders frequently make blunders. This happened again this year when the Russians tried to pass off a damaged Tiger as a damaged Kozak. There is only one explanation, war. The Russians are simply envious, because the Kozak is similar in specifications to the pride of the Russians, the Tiger armored vehicle, with one key difference, the Russians spent years and tens, if not hundreds, of millions of dollars developing their armored vehicle. Let us remind you that the main features of an armored vehicle are protection and off-road capability. And in both of these aspects, the Tiger has its nuances. The fact that it is based on a gas chassis already says a lot. However, we won't dwell on that. More importantly, the tires of the so-called main predator of the Russian Federation are not bulletproof, and off-road conditions can become a real obstacle for the Tiger. And another important difference between the Tiger and the Kozak, or more precisely the difference between Ukrainian and Russian developers. The Research and Development Association Praktika constantly tries to improve their creation. Therefore, on the front line, besides the Kozak 2M1, there is now also the Kozak 7. The armored vehicle has become more powerful and faster. The new modification was placed on a Ford F550 chassis with a 390 horsepower engine. Thanks to the improvements, the Kozak 7 is indeed capable of reaching speeds of up to 150 kilometers per hour. But the significant advantage is not even that. The new development by Praktika will cost less than its previous modifications. and everything indicates that Ukrainian developers do not intend to stop at what has been achieved. Importantly, they listen to the military, who know exactly how to improve the weaponry, to make it as effective as possible. After all, who better than the Ukrainian defenders to understand how to destroy tens of thousands of different Russian counterparts? No, but we will tell you with what weapons the defense forces eliminate the occupiers. So subscribe to the channel and like the videos to not miss new episodes of Arsenal. The upgraded Bohdana self-propelled artillery system has been officially adopted by the armed forces of Ukraine. It is the first Ukrainian self-propelled artillery unit of its kind, originally designed for NATO caliber shells. It was this system that helped drive the occupiers out of Snake Island, played an active role in turning the Antonivsky Bridge into a sieve, disrupting Russian logistics routes, and liberating Kherson. Its development began back in 2009, but at the time, President Viktor Yanukovych, after consulting with the Kremlin, froze the project. Work resumed only in 2016 at the Kramatorsk machine tool building plant. And just 2 years later, the first prototype was showcased at the parade in honor of Ukraine's Independence Day. For several years after that, bureaucratic hurdles persisted, and finally, a month before the full-scale war, the Bohdana completed preliminary testing, having fired a total of 450 rounds. That's when the first pleasant surprises emerged. The self-propelled artillery system was able to hit a target at a distance of 42 kilometers, while Western counterparts only reach 40.
But in principle, it can use rocket-assisted projectiles as well. These are shells that, thanks to their effect, can hit targets at distances of up to 50 or even more kilometers. It also stands out for its rather high accuracy in hitting targets.
From the very first days of the full-scale Russian invasion, the system was put into service and immediately demonstrated fantastic results. Even before the delivery of Western artillery, the Bohdana reliably destroyed entire columns of occupiers and earned the nickname of a large-caliber sniper weapon for its accuracy.
As of today, at this current moment in time, right now,
the artillery system mounted on the Bohdana has proven itself to be very effective and reliable. This assessment takes into account its impressive rate of fire, its operational range, and its overall operation.
Its operation simply...
In a year and a half of war, the Bohdana has carried out dozens of successful operations. It's too early to discuss many, but some the Ukrainian armed forces have already revealed.
Fire now on the Russian occupiers on Snake Island!
The vehicle operated on all sections of the front, starting from the Kherson direction. That was the Kryvyi redirection. Then we worked on Snake Island, which is already well known to everyone. We also operated in the Mykolaiv region, targeting Kherson. Our target was the Antonivsky Bridge.
Already during the war, the Bohdana has undergone modernization twice. It received a new 8x8 chassis for better off-road capability and an upgraded ammunition loading mechanism. As for its basic characteristics, the Bohdana self-propelled artillery system has a NATO standard caliber of 155 millimeters, a firing range of up to 42 kilometers with a standard shell, and up to 60 kilometers with a rocket-assisted projectile. Rate of fire is up to 5 rounds per minute. With a weight of 28 tons, the maximum speed of the artillery system is 80 kilometers per hour, and its range is 800 kilometers. The crew of the self-propelled artillery system consists of 5 people. With these specifications, the Bohdana has proven to be quite comparable to Western artillery systems.
These are, for example, the same Dana by the French self-propelled artillery Caesar, or, for instance, the Swedish Archer. And depending on the ammunition used, well, we can say that the range characteristics are very similar. Next, comes the rate of fire. We do lag behind some models of equipment. Ours has 5 rounds per minute, and in terms of functionality as well. But for example, firing 3 shots in a row, that is delivering a barrage in the shortest possible time. But overall, all of this is achievable as the system itself is improved. I am more than confident that it will continue to be improved, and in this case, its characteristics will be enhanced.
By the way, Bohdana is comparable to foreign equipment, not only in combat characteristics, but also in technical ones.
This vehicle is equipped with a crane and a screen for night driving. A screen. This is installed for night driving. There's a camera in the front and a camera in the back. We can watch how it moves during the day, and at night the headlights turn off, special lights turn on, there are bulbs installed, so you can drive it at night without any lights.
The soldiers who operate the Ukrainian self-propelled artillery say the difference from Soviet equipment is immediately noticeable. And it's not even about the fact that many processes here are automated. The designers focused on the most important thing, preserving the crew's lives.
In terms of safety, everything has been done so that the crew survives in the event of an explosion. It's armored, and the seats also have seat belts that will hold. I don't know exactly what kind of blast they can withstand, but when it comes to safety, it's been done excellently.
Our good old tradition of building things with a margin of safety has also made itself felt. The Kramatorsk plant, which worked on the gun barrel, did an excellent job. After firing more than 1,000 rounds, the barrel bore remains almost unworn.
Can it withstand a lot of shells?
It can.
How many?
Well, it can handle 10 or 20.
In what period of time?
In an hour, or even less.
At the same time, it's important to understand what kind of shells these are. Finally, by abandoning the Soviet 152mm caliber, Ukraine solved several problems at once. First, for the self-propelled artillery, there is no longer a need to search for outdated ammunition, which today is produced only in Russia. And secondly, the shell now flies farther and causes more damage to the enemy.
We work both day and night. The battery carries out the mission according to any order. An order comes in and we get to work. The 155mm caliber gives us a very high degree of effectiveness, whether it's against enemy personnel or armored vehicles. That's an immense force when the shell detonates.
But that's not all. The recent statement from the US about supplying us with cluster munitions stirred up the Kremlin for a reason. After all, the Bohdana self-propelled gun is one of those weapons that, though will certainly use them.
That will be really great. We'll have to use fewer shells if we have cluster munitions. They cover a larger area than fragmentation or high explosive shells.
Switching to the standard NATO caliber gives Ukraine another important advantage. There is truly no better advertisement for military equipment than its successful use on the battlefield, where real-world performance is proven. And considering that the Bohdana meets Western standards, it could very well attract the interest of foreign partners.
If mass production is established after the war, it could also be exported, especially given its extensive combat experience.
As for the Russian defense industry, the 155mm caliber is not used there. So the Bohdana will have a longer range and greater accuracy than any Russian artillery piece. By the way, the Ukrainian self-propelled artillery system became the first weapon to surpass the occupiers' equipment, and regarding which no one can tell us anymore where to use it, in which direction, or on which territories to fire. So in the near future, the occupiers should expect explosions in the most unexpected places. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to learn even more interesting things and not miss the next episode of Arsenal.